We'll turn now to Lithuania, where there are growing fears that they could be Moscow's next target. Of particular concern is a narrow stretch of land between Lithuania and the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad. Many Lithuanians fear Moscow could someday attempt to cut this land bridge to its Western NATO partners. That's why some citizens are trying to ensure that, should that ever happen, they'll be prepared.
Paulius Liškauskas is training for the worst-case scenario. He is a member of the Lithuanian Riflemen's Union, a state-backed paramilitary group that has been growing ever since Russia annexed Crimea in 2014.
Russian state propaganda targeted Lithuania. For us it meant we could be the next ones.
Especially if you live here in the so-called Suwalki Gap, Lithuania's only land connection with its Western NATO partners. This stretch of land is crucial for the transport of goods and military equipment.
The Suwalki Gap is just 65 kilometers wide. It's located exactly here between the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad on the one side and Russia's ally Belarus on the other side.
In Lithuania, many fear that Russia might try to cut this land bridge to the west. Tensions with Moscow have been rising. Lithuania has been a member of NATO since 2004. But since the start of the war in Ukraine, politicians and normal citizens have grown more determined.
I would say we're more patriotic, but you should defend your freedom and so on. It's like understanding of these fundamental things. We have just few years to prepare ourselves. That's why we need more NATO presence in our region as a very credible deterrence factor.
Deterrence against Russia. This is also the aim of an unusual art exhibition in the capital Vilnius. This train from Moscow stops twice a day here on its way to the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad. Russian passengers are not allowed to get off, but they are confronted with photos of war outside their windows. When Paulius Liškauskas is not training for battle, he takes off his rifleman uniform to work as a lawyer. He believes that the Kremlin and not ordinary Russian citizens are responsible for the war in Ukraine.
I have Russian clients that I keep in touch with. I don't feel any personal hatred towards them, but rather towards the Russian state and Russian state propaganda.
Many here would agree with him. Lithuanians have been caught between a constant state of vigilance and resilience. But with the onset of the war in Ukraine, people living in the Suwalki Gap are looking to the future with even more concern.
So that report from DW correspondent Yuri Reshetto, who's now in Riga in Latvia. Welcome, Yuri. We'll start with Lithuania. Given that Lithuania is a member of NATO, perhaps you could explain to us why they are so worried about a Russian attack.
Well, the Baltic countries, including Latvia and Lithuania, share a painful history with Russia. The Baltics were part of the Soviet Union for almost 45 years after World War II, and many people here still call this time an occupation. After the Soviet Union collapsed, Latvians and Estonians and Lithuanians were the first to declare their independence again in 1990, and they definitely don't want to lose this independence again. By the way, I'm standing right in front of the Freedom Monument here in Latvia, in Riga, that symbolizes Latvian independence. As for Russia, nobody felt that Russia would invade Ukraine and start what Moscow still calls a special military operation. Nobody thought in 2014 that Russia would annex Crimea, and there have been so many things in recent years that have left the whole world baffled by Russian foreign policy. Consequently, Russia now, under President Putin in 2022, has become an unpredictable neighbor for all countries along its borders, including Latvia and Lithuania.
Understood. So memories are still fresh. And as you say, you're in the Latvian capital, which is home to quite a lot of Russians. What's the mood like there?
Well, look, every fourth person living here in Latvia is Russian. The Russian language is the most widely used minority language, widely spoken and understood throughout the whole country. That's why I wouldn't even feel like talking about Russians as a minority here in Riga, especially since many Latvians speak Russian or at least understand it very well. So the mood here in Riga, I feel, is very good. Living together seems to work without any problems. That's obviously not the problem. But at least until recently, there was a problem with Russian state propaganda that many here have been consuming through Russian television, and all Russian channels are now banned. Nevertheless, they are of course still available on the internet, through which the older people in particular, who above all live in the Russian strongholds and the east of the country, they get a completely different view of what is currently happening in Ukraine.
Now, Germany's Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock is due in Riga today. What's on her agenda?
It's the first foreign minister's visit here to the Baltic states. Here in Riga, in the capital of Latvia, she wants to speak with the host, Latvian Foreign Minister Edgars Rinkēvičs, and then meet with her counterparts from Estonia and Lithuania. The main topics will reportedly be the Russian war in Ukraine and the security situation in the region. A month ago, Baerbock launched a new national security strategy. In view of the war, Germany cannot be neutral and must assume more responsibility in NATO, she said. And that, of course, also includes the reinforcement of NATO on the eastern flank, as well as more presence of NATO soldiers in the Baltic countries. That is exactly what the Lithuanians I was talking to are demanding as well, especially now in these times of war with Russia.
All right, thanks, Yuri. Yuri Reshetto in Riga.